Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and oh, man, we brought him back. We brought him back. William Branum, the book, Mission Ready. Oh, my gosh, so good. When we had him on the first time, what happened was we just ran out of time. I mean, we could have talked forever, and there was a particular topic or six that I wanted to get into that we just didn't have the time to get into. And we had such a great show. And all of you, by the way, come on and said, man, what a great show. He was awesome. And I really loved him. And it was a very popular show, one of the most popular shows we've done this year, in fact. And so I said, would you come back? And then we tried to bring him back. And we had a little bit of an issue. We had some complications. And then we worked it out where we could bring him back. So he's back. He's on assignment because he's not in his cave where he normally is. He's on assignment out there. So if you see a little bit different background, it's okay. It's what he is. But he is going to join us and talk about Mission Ready. So good. The book is so good. You need to get yourself a copy of it. Wherever books are sold, Amazon, I don't care. Just find it. And then if you find some place where it's not on bookshelf, tell them to put it on the bookshelf, because I'm telling you, it really is that good. Before we get to William, let's do what we do every week, right? 4-part people: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Got to be working on all those areas every day. If we're not working on ourselves every day, we're not growing, we're dying. And so we have to be in constant improvement. And it's little things that make a difference. And so what we do is have you rate you on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being average in these 4 areas of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So physically, for example, how would you rate yourself in terms of eating right, getting enough exercise, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, etc.? How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5? Now, listen, if your number's low, say it's a 2 or 3. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. What I want you to say is, okay, this is good. This is a starting point. I know where I can build from here. All right. And we're not trying to get from a 2 to a 10 or a 3 to 10. We just want to get to a 2.5. That's all we want to do. Right. So what do you need to do right now? What could you do to change what you're doing in your physical life? Okay. That's your first number. Second number is the mental intellectual number. Fact of the matter is, I could sit on this book all day long. I will never absorb a thing for it. I have to be an active participant in the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that's in this book. And then I need to apply it, is what I need to do. And I tell my coaching clients all the time, I say, listen to books, great. But when you leave the car, write down 1 or 2 things that you're going to take action on immediately that you heard as you were driving down the road. Because your intellectual mental number is going to come from what you take action on, because that's where things change. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say you're doing in the mental intellectual area? That's your second number. Third number is the emotional area. Very quickly, we break it down 2 ways. One is, how well are you able to control your emotions under stress and pressure? It's the holiday season. I get it. You know, how do you feel when that guy cuts you off in traffic? Can you control your emotions? How about the person who you're looking for that toy and the person gets the last one right before you? You able to control your emotions? How about when you have to stand in line just a little too long? Can you control your emotions? That's the first part. Second part is, how well are you able to tap into and understand the emotions of other people? You want to lead like I said, you're going to have emotional control, and you got to also be able to understand the emotions of the other person. Right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say you're doing there? Finally, the last area is spiritual area. And a lot of people give me pressure on this spiritually. We're not spiritual. There's not. Yeah, we are. We're spiritual. We all listen. Every day is a day of faith. You push the button in your car. You believe it's going to start. You sip your coffee, believing it's not poisonous. You make plans for the future, believing they're going to happen. They haven't happened yet. Crosswalk on the sign goes off, and you believe that you can walk across that walkway without getting hit by a car. We live by faith every day. It's a spiritual concept every day. And the fact of the matter, there is a human spirit within us that desires to continue and move on and move forward. And there is this thing inside us that is unexplainable by science. Sorry. And I have an MS in addition to my doctoral work. I have an MS behind there. And I'm sorry, some things just cannot be explained by science. The spiritual aspect is one of those. So what brings you back to centeredness in the midst of your chaos? What brings you joy in the midst of the hell that you may be going through right now? Is it God? Is it nature? Is it meditation? Is it something else? And then the question is, how's it working for you? And then what do you need to do to change it? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in the spiritual area? Those 4 areas, like the air and the tires of your car. If one tire is too low, the car veers, hard to steer, hard to move, and get where you want to go. And then if all 4 tires are low, you're going to ruin the car over the course of time. So you want to bring up our tires to the right height. And speaking of someone who does that, his name is William Branum. He is an experienced and highly decorated Navy SEAL. He served for 26 years and cultivated a powerful mindset. He has an extensive experience in high-pressure situations as a sniper instructor and leading teams on operations ranging from protecting the interim Iraqi elected officials to direct action missions in Baghdad and Afghanistan. After retiring from the military, William has made it his mission to share the lessons he's learned with others as a speaker, author, and business and leadership advisor. William's expertise is in leadership and mindset and has been sought after by organizations ranging from small universities to Fortune 500 companies. You can learn more about him by going to 5sealsecrets.com is where he's at. And he's got some other websites too that I'm sure we'll get to throughout the show. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show and welcome back for the second time, William Branum. Will, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for bringing me on. I'm stoked to be here again.
I'm glad you are, because I'm glad I am. We talked a little bit about the book, and I want to talk to you about something, because the more I think about leadership, leading like a SEAL team, right? I think about all the players who are involved. There's a SEAL leader, but then there's the team. And I think we want to go, I want my team to act like Navy SEALs in the business world. But there is a self-motivation that you guys have that I think sometimes leaders in business get frustrated with. How do we bridge that gap before we move on in terms of motivating the team, getting the team on the same page? Because you guys have that. And it seems that it's a critical aspect of being successful leading your team.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the Navy SEAL Creed says we are expected to lead and be led. So every man on a SEAL team is a leader. We start from very early on. We start in BUDS, in basic underwater demolition SEAL training, and we put guys in leadership positions. And we expect them to fail. We put them in positions that they are most likely going to fail. There'll be times where we'll put people in leadership positions that maybe they're not quite ready, but we can see the leadership potential. So we'll put them in there to start getting them comfortable in leadership positions. So everyone is required to be like, number one rule of leadership is you have to lead yourself. So if you can teach everyone on your team to lead themselves and show them what that looks like, that's step number one. And then hold them accountable for those things that they're responsible for leading. And some, number one, yourself, show up on time, show up with what you're supposed to have, the right equipment, the right tools, the right books, the right computer, the right whatever. Lead yourself first. Then you start leading other people. And we start with leading, you can lead one other person, and then you can lead 4 people, then you can lead 8 people. Then pretty soon you're leading 400 people eventually. But you asked me a question about how do we keep teams motivated? And that's a really difficult question. I know there's a lot of people out there in the world and on the internets that Al Gore invented that say that motivation is crap. Well, I'm going to tell you that motivation is discipline is more important. You're right. Discipline is more important than motivation. But you know what? Motivation is a powerful tool that if you don't use it, you're a fool. Because you're like, oh, we just need people to be more disciplined. Well, yeah, that would be, in a perfect world, everyone would be disciplined and no one would have any problems and we would be awesome. But that's not reality. That's not the state of the world. We have to motivate people. That's our job as leaders oftentimes. And it's not easy. Yet, not even in the SEAL teams. I'll tell you that leading a bunch of alpha personalities that just want to win and be right and go kick in doors and do the job that they want to do is not an easy task, especially when we get saddled with some job that maybe we don't want to do. And you got to motivate those guys to want to do it. So I'll give you an example of that. In 2005, you read it in my bio, we did a workup. It was a short workup, and my platoon, we expected to go to Afghanistan. That's where the action was. That's what things were going on. We were either going to Afghanistan to go hunt bad guys over there or go to Iraq and do personal security detail work. We were crushing it in the workup. We were like, we were the best platoon, the end at the team, said by everyone, to include the commanding officer. And so when it came time to divvy out where everyone is going to deploy, when they called our platoon, they said that we were going to Iraq to do the personal security detail, to keep the interim government of Iraq alive, because Al-Qaeda wanted to destabilize the government so they could take over power. That's just the way insurgencies work. And so every one of us were crushed. We went back to the platoon hut and everyone was just like, I can't believe that I have this. And I was like, yeah, me neither. And I was sulking just as much as the guys were, but you know what? I'm in a leadership position, so I can't bring myself down to their level. I have to lead now. So I left the platoon hut. I went down and talked to the commanding officer. And I said, why did you put us in this? Why did you give us the shit mission? We don't want that. We don't deserve that. You know that we crushed everyone else. We did the best, blah, 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 whatever. He said, you know what? You're right. You did. You outperformed every other platoon out here. And it wasn't me. It was the guys. It was what they did. And so I wanted them to be rewarded for the work the hard work that they put in to do as well as they did. And the thing that he followed up saying was super powerful. And I hope that one day I'll be as good of a leader as him. And he said, you know what? You're right. You are the best. And this mission, this interim government security detail mission, is a no-fail mission. And I have to put my best foot forward. So I am rewarding you with the no-fail mission. And I was like, you know what? I can't argue with that. So now I have to go and I have to talk to my guys and I have to convince them, I have to motivate them that doing personal security work is what we want to do. And I used a lot of his words, because if they worked on me, hopefully they'll work on them. And so we basically said, we're going to turn lemons into lemonade and we're going to go forward and do great things. So we get pretty good at this work. Then we deploy to Iraq. And another thing happens. Like I said, SEALs are hard to lead because they're hard-headed and they're alpha, and they just are. I would say it's not just SEALs. It's pretty much any special operations force unit of just alpha personnel. They want to go and, wreak havoc and do hard things and do the hard job. And so we get over to Iraq, and then we also want to be a little bit rebellious. So, in the military, good order and discipline, you need to have a haircut, you need to have your shirt tucked in, all this other stuff. And we were wearing civilian clothes because we were doing that security mission, and they didn't want a military presence around the Iraqis. And so my guys were like, well, can we grow a beard? Can we grow our hair long? Do we have to tuck in our shirt? And all the things that you need to do, but they're like, they don't want to do it. And I'm like, I don't even answer the question. I'm like, go have dinner, go eat chow, and let's talk about it when we get back. We'll have a platoon meeting. I'll see what I can do and whatever. I'm just stalling at this point. And then they go to the chow hall and they see all of the contract security personnel that are doing the same, security mission, Blackwater, Dynacore, Triple Canopy, all those companies. And they all look like dirtbags. They all have 15 magazines on their belts. They have their shirts are untucked, their hair is long, they've got scraggly beards. They look like what my guys wanted to look like. And they went to the chow hall and they saw those guys and they were like, those guys look like dirtbags. We don't want to look like that. They came back and they were like, hey, Chief, you know what? We don't want to grow our hair long. We want to cut our hair. We want to tuck our shirts in. We want to look professional. And I was like, you're welcome. That was one of the best lessons of let them have it your way. I have that's ever happened. And it kind of happened by accident, but I was I'm not going to tell you no right now. I'm going to wait, because I actually knew that they were going to go see those guys at the chow hall, and I wanted to see what their opinion of it was. I'm like, oh, so you want to look like those guys? You want to look like a bunch of contractors? Yeah. They're like, no, we don't. We want to look professional.
Right.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
It's interesting to me that, sometimes life kind of has a way of taking care of itself, right? In those instances, right, where it's you want something so bad, then you see that somebody has it and you go, I don't know that I want that. And I think for in the business sector, in the civilian business sector, I think what we do is we struggle because I think sometimes everybody all kind of looks the same anyway. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
you have a sales team, everybody's in, well-dressed, and typically is well-dressed, looks good, especially professional sales teams. So we don't have those type of things, but sometimes your sales team is not doing the things that you want them to do. For instance, they're not following up with the client, or they're not prospecting like they should in sales teams. And you try all these measures to get them to be motivated to do it. And it just seems like you're fighting constantly and struggling constantly because they're all independent contractors at the end of the day, right? So do you have a piece of advice that you could give that sales manager or team leader when they're struggling, you're struggling to get them to do the things that they know that they need to do to be successful, but they're not doing them?
Sometimes there's the situation depends. The answer is it depends. However, if people aren't motivated by money, you have to find what they're motivated by. So some of those could be they just don't know how to sell. They don't know how to follow up. They don't actually know how to do the job that they're supposed to be doing. So as a leader of the sales team, maybe I come in there and I get on the phone and I start making some calls, and I just let everyone listen to me make the call, listen to me, do the sales pitch, listen to me, create the camaraderie, make the connection before I ever try to close. And then close, or maybe not, and get rejected, and then get on the phone and pick it up and do what you want them to do. Show them what you think it should look like, what you believe it should look like. Show them what you want to see. I have a just to kind of like jump on that. I have a friend, a former coach, who took a company from $300 million and in 5 years sold it for $3.4 billion. And he started his career at Goldman Sachs. And he said when he was at Goldman Sachs, for the first 6 months, they wore this headset, kind of like the one I'm wearing right now, that plugged in. And you just got on, you put it on when you walked in the door, and you took it off right before you left, and you left it on all day. And your job really at Goldman Sachs was sales. And he said he was in there, he was on a call, he was trying to close this potential client, and he was kind of at an impasse. And he said one of the senior managers walked in while he was on this call, and everyone's listening, and it's all over, like, it's projected out so everyone can hear what's going on, and so everyone can learn. And the senior manager walked in, he unplugged my friend's headset, plugged his headset in, picked up where my friend left off, who was still in training, and just continued on and closed the deal, and then plugged my friend's headset back in and walked out of the room so they could see what that looked like. So he just came in there and he showed them what it looks like. This is what sales looks like. He's like, oh, okay, I see where I got stuck. I see where we were having an impasse, and now I see how you close. So then from then on, my friend was like, okay, now I know how to do it. And next time I run into this sort of impasse, awesome. I have the tools, or at least the knowledge, to figure out how to get past it.
Do you know what's interesting is I'm listening to your stories, and I'm reflecting back on your first story about Afghanistan versus Iraq. Here's the thing that just popped into my head is that, first of all, your commanding officer was a better salesman than you were.
100%.
And you had to be a better salesman than your team.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it just popped into my head. Part of it was, if you want your team to be motivated, how good of a salesperson are you?
Oftentimes that is leadership. You have to sell other people on what you want them to do.
Because
I didn't realize, I used to say, I hate sales, I'm never going to be in sales. I've been in sales my entire life. You got to sell people on what you want them to do.
Right.
That's negotiation. That's leadership. That's all of it. You got to sell them on it.
Yeah. Your CEO was genius.
He was.
I mean, when you think about how he handled you, because I know you were fired up, and I know you were protecting your guys, and I know that you guys had, you had trained so hard, you guys were looking forward to this, and then you get this other job. How does he sell that to you? Well, he's got to be a great salesperson to do that. And he did it, because when you're telling the story, you could even feel, I could still feel that you were going, dude, that's so good.
He could have done the default leadership role,
right,
and said, "This is an order, not an invitation," which
right,
he's also said that in the past to other people, not to me.
right.
But he's like, "These are orders, not invitations." Okay, Roger that. We'll get Charlie Mike. But he said, "No, I have to put my best foot forward, and that's why you're going." How can you argue with that?
You can't.
You're
argue.
the best. Go kick ass. Okay,
Right.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go now.
I couldn't understand why you'd want that mission, but this is a no fail, and I need my best people to be there.
Right. I have to put my best foot forward. Oh, I can't argue with that.
That's so good.
I want to so badly, but I can't.
That's
Can you argue that? No, I'm not that good. I swear. Like, why are you here then?
but then you got to go to your guys, and then you got to sell that same thing to them, right? Because they're still disappointed.
Yes, and it got worse. It got worse when we got over there, because we did the security mission for like maybe a week, and then our VIP decided he did not want an American presence, so they said, "Okay, go to this other location and start hunting bad guys." Awesome, let's go. And we went there for like 3 weeks, and we did some missions, and we did some fun stuff, and we did some cool stuff. I actually did a turnover with Leif Babin, who, and they had just come back doing a sniper mission up in Ramadi, and we did a whole like turnover, like how they did it and their TTPs and all that stuff, and it was so we were like, let's go. And then the leadership that was in charge of all the security people, all the security details, they were like, oh, they went and talked to our VIP, and they said, oh, well, if you take the American security detail, then you get helicopters, and you get gun trucks, and you get this, and you get that, and you get all these other. So they went and negotiated like this whole thing to like keep us on the detail. And then so we're over here kicking doors and doing great work and doing the job that we did the last 12 months work up to do, and now they rip it out from under us again.
Oh no.
And so now we're going back over to do the security mission, and I was like, are you trying to sabotage me? What, like it? So managing those emotions as well, like leading those guys in. We're like, okay, so we got screwed again. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go crush this mission. We're going to go do some fun stuff. We're going to do some cool stuff. And if something opens up where I can send guys away, the best performers are going first.
Right.
The guys who are performing the best in this crappy mission that we're doing, those are the first guys I'm going to send over. I'm going to take the risk on my side to reward you for doing a great job at this terrible mission. And then as other guys step up and start performing, they get to go, or they get to stay here and do the terrible mission with the leadership. And so we as leaders, we just had to eat it. Yeah,
there's your carrot, right? There was the carrot, right? It was, okay, you want to get out of here? The best guys who do this the best, you're going to be the first guy selected for the fun stuff.
Right. Oh, exactly. Okay. And it opened up, and that helped reboost morale.
Yeah.
Again, no one wants to but we also took opportunities where we could. We went out and played what we call speedball. It's like it's a cross between like touch football and ultimate frisbee. And we ended up, we would have workout competitions. We tried to make what we were doing fun.
Yeah.
On the security side, standing around watching other people eat and breathe and have meetings is not awesome at all. I think I was probably closer to death doing the security work a couple times than I was like actually kicking doors and doing that job. Funny enough, by Americans almost shot me.
That's hilarious. His name is William Branum. The book is Branum, but the book is entitled Mission Ready. Great book. We're talking about building high-performing teams from the battlefield to the boardroom. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, sponsors, Linda Craft Team Realtors. She's been the first sponsor. Listen, she's been helping people transition in life for now going to be 40 years. Top of her game, 40 years. And you say, well, what do you mean transition? Do real estate? Well, think about it. Every place you've ever lived has been transition in life. She knows how to, for 40 years, she's been able to take the stress out of that for people successfully. She can do it for you too. So listen, when you're ready to sell your home, buy your home, check them out. It's lindacraft.com, LINDA. CRAFT.com. And listen, we got a new sponsor. It's called Zoundy. If you're an author, I just want to tell you what, this is the ultimate game changer for authors, publishers, and professionals in the audio book space. I know that there's another thing, but here's the deal. They have cutting edge marketing with Zoundy, customization, and specialty marketing sales tools. Zoundy will help you maximize your audiobooks reach and revenue from bulk order solutions to personalized fulfillment options. Zoundy empowers you to leverage your audiobook to build and capture a contact list, target non-traditional sales channels, generate revenues, network with influencers, engage audiences like never before, and drive real results. I'm telling you, I use it. It's amazing. For the first time, I can actually see who's downloaded and listening to my book and be in contact with them. It's amazing. So whether you're launching your first audiobook, scaling your catalog, or leveraging your audiobook to market or other products and services, Zoundy simplifies the process while unlocking unlimited opportunities. So here's the deal. Go to Zoundy.com/J. That's right, Zoundy, ZOUNDY.com/J. Use my special promo code J25, JAY25. There's a special promo code. You're not going to regret it. I'm telling you, if an author and you want to get your books an audiobook and you want a way to actually leverage it where you can make money from it, I'm telling you, this is the route to go. It's Zoundy.com/J. Use my code J25. You're not going to be sorry that you did. And we're back here on A New Direction with William Branum and his book, Mission Ready. You know what? Great stuff, that first segment about motivating the teams. What a great story. I mean, the point being, I think, that we really pull out of this is you better be a good salesman as a sales leader, because you're going to have to sell. Yeah, you're going to have to.
You better know how to sell.
Yeah, you're going to have to sell your people. I want to go to the book. There's a chapter here called Leaders Get No Bullets. And I was fascinated by this chapter because I had mentioned one of the employees of the company I consult came to me and said, leaders get no bullets. And he goes, what do you mean they get no bullets? And he's a leader. And I said, well, I'm not going to go into it because I'm going to say he's coming back. And we're going to talk about that because he was fascinated by everything that you said. Talk about leaders get no bullets.
So it's funny. I get a lot of heat sometimes when I put this out on the socials because people don't understand really what I'm saying. I'm not saying that leaders shouldn't have bullets ever. What I'm saying is your job as a leader is to not be putting rounds downrange. If you're kind of the idea is where I came up with this idea is training new leaders on how to be in a gunfight, which is really the premise of Mission Ready. It's like I like to call it gunfight leadership. And I put this together when we're training new leaders. We're like, all right, let's get out there and be in the gunfight out in the desert or in the woods or whatever in the wide open field to learn the tactics of it. And once the guys sort of had the gross motor movements of it, I would put my kit on, my bullets and H gear and gun and night vision goggles and all that other stuff, and I would run every run with the platoon. And they were broken up into 2 or 4 different groups, and so I did a lot of running, but that was okay. And so what I would do is I would position myself next to that leader, and I would tell him, like, listen, sir, I'm a new guy. Just consider me a new guy. I'm not going to make any calls on the battlefield. I will never, if you make a bad call, I will never undermine your call. We're going to go with whatever you make. But if you get stuck, I'm going to try to pimp you with a little bit of information to trigger the right way for you to go. And so we would be patrolling along. Gunfight would start. Our targets would pop up. They would start shooting at us. We had these pop-up targets, little plastic army men. They're barricaded in, and they had 50 cal, we call it 50 cal guns, but what they were compressed, what was it? I don't think it was compressed oxygen. Maybe it was compressed propane. And so what they did was a pop, 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 pop. And so you got muzzle flash, and you got an audible, like someone is shooting at us. So you know where to shoot, who is shooting, so you could return fire. And so the training cadre have all of these targets set up all throughout everywhere. And it's, there's different terrain features and things like that. And so they're looking for the leader to read the terrain, read the enemy situation, read the friendly situation, make a call, and maneuver until you're out of the contact. And there's a lot of different things that you can do, but we try to keep things super simple and keep our communication super simple. And so what will always happen, the gunfight will start, we'll take cover, start returning fire, and that brand new leader, he's a Navy SEAL now. He's ready to put rounds down range, take the fight to the enemy. He's ready to get after it. And really what's going on is he's not leading because he's so busy trying to shoot these targets because he's a good shot. He's good at what he does. That's why he's in this leadership role. He's never really been in a gunfight because he's usually the officers they're brand new and they've never been in this situation before. So we're throwing a lot of stuff at him. That's why I put myself in that position right next to him as a new guy so I can help him out. And so he has all the authority that he needs to get out of the gunfight. He has all the knowledge that he needs to get out of the gunfight. Now all he has to do is read the terrain, read the enemy situation, read the friendly situation, make a decision, and make a call. And then we move wherever he tells us to move. So 100% what happens, officer, leader starts shooting. And then I might say something like, hey sir, what's the call? And this is awesome for me because I get to shoot a gun, but because normally as a senior guy, I don't get to shoot that often. So this is super fun for me. And I'm like shooting, bang, 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 bang. And I'm looking around. I know what the call should be because I've done this lots and lots of times, both in combat and in training. So I know what the call is. I know what the call is as soon as the contact happens because I've look back, see where our guys are, if we've made some turns or what's the terrain. Oh, there's the enemy. There's the guys in front because I'm not quite in the middle, but whatever. So I know what the call should be. And so I say, hey, sir, what's the call? And he'll stop shooting. He'll look around. He won't be confident in what the call should be. And so he'll go back and start shooting again. Eventually I put some more pressure on. We have to get out of here. Oh my God, we're going to die, whatever. And, I'm adding additional pressure because we're not moving. And if you don't move, you die.
Right.
Because the enemy, and he makes a call. Eventually he makes a call. Maybe it's a good call. Maybe it's a bad call. Maybe eventually we get out of there. Maybe half the unit that our 4 or 8 man unit, maybe we all die and they start the whole thing over. So I let this happen maybe 2 or 3 runs where he continues to want to engage the targets. And at the end of the run, we do a debrief, an after action review, and we're like, okay, this went right, this went wrong, this is what we need to do better. Okay, check. Then after maybe the 3rd one of those where he's continuing to shoot and he's not stopping to lead, I say, sir, here's the deal. You get no bullets in your gun. You take the bullets out of your gun and you put them, you have to carry all the bullets, but you don't get any in your gun. Actually, you get one round in the magazine just to keep the dirt and whatever out of his gun. So it's going to function properly. And when we get back from this run, I need you to still have that 1 bullet in your gun. And so now he feels neutered because I just took his manhood away. I just took those bullets, the thing that he knows how to do, the thing that he's really, really good at. I took that away and I'm forcing him to do something that's very uncomfortable. But that's his job. Little bullet can do something, but he also has a whole SEAL platoon at his disposal. He has maybe even more than a SEAL platoon. Maybe he has aircraft overhead. Maybe he has ground vehicles that can come in and help support us. And he needs to be doing those things. Read the terrain, read the enemy situation, read the friendly situation, and then make a decision and a call so that we can go and execute that mission. So we can take the fight to the enemy, so we can win the fight, so we can go home and live for another day. If he's looking down the sights of his weapon, he's not leading ever. And so now we're in the gunfight starts, and now he's like, what do I do? I have to I want to shoot because that's what I know how to do. That's what I'm comfortable doing. And so now he starts to look around. He's like, okay, what's the enemy situation? What's the terrain that's around us? What's the friendly? Where are all the guys on the team in the gunfight? All of the good guys, where's all the bad guys? Where's the terrain? What's happening? Is there something we can hide behind? Is there something we can get ditch that we can get it? Whatever it is. So he's looking around, and if enough time goes by that he doesn't make a call, I might say, hey, what about that hillside behind us to the right? Do you think we can maybe maneuver around the back of that and outflank the enemy? that's a lot of words that I shouldn't have to say, but I want him to think about what we need to do so he can make the correct call. And so he'll look and he'll make a decision, and maybe he makes the right decision and maybe he doesn't. But eventually he does make a decision. And once they get really good at that, not shooting, they get really good at not shooting. They don't need bullets. The only reason a leader should be putting rounds down range is if there's a lack of shooting. If there's a whole bunch of guns that are not shooting and a whole bunch of people up and moving around where the enemy's heads are up and they're sending rounds back towards us. So how does this apply to the business world? My job as a leader, my number one job as a leader is to train my replacement. The end. There's a lot of other stuff that I have to do, but my number one job as a leader is to train my replacement.
Right.
So that's why I get out there in the field. I get dirty. I don't sit behind a desk. I'm not trying to hide behind it. I'm not trying to hide anything else. I'm getting out there. I'm getting dirty, and I'm doing the reps. I'm doing the runs. I'm carrying down men. I'm, picking up the big gun and put it, like, whatever I got to do to make sure that leader gets the training that he needs. So how does this apply to the real world? Let's say you have you're in a leadership position and you're ready to move up to the next position, but there's no one to take your place. I have a buddy that a client, he has a real estate company, and he was doing he's the CEO, but he was also the COO. He had all these things, and now he's getting bigger and more people. And he's like, I can't handle all these people. I got to hire someone else and bring them in so that they can run the operations of the company, so that I can look up and out, so that I can look at bigger and better things. And so he was like, how do you recommend I do that? I said, okay, well, take James over here and put James in charge of a meeting. Tell him what you want to get out of it. Like, give him, sort of the commander's intent, give him like the desired end result. These are the things that we're looking for, and have him run it. And no matter what he says during that meeting, like, make it a small, easy meeting for him. But no matter what he says, you back him up. And if he says something terrible in that meeting, you don't correct him in the meeting. You correct him later. You correct him outside where no one else, and then he can come back and he can make those corrections to the team. But never like crush him in front of his people. Set him up for success. And the more that he gets in there and he runs those meetings and he makes the right calls and the right decisions and does the right things that meet the desired end result, then you can stop going to those meetings and allow him to run them. But you're there to make sure that you're training your replacement in the things that you need them to do, to be really good at. So that's something or maybe it's, let's talk about a sales guy again. I'm sure I've said this before, but the number one problem that I see with organizations is they like to take their best sales guy or girl and make them a sales manager. And it's not because they think they're going to be a good leader in that role. They oftentimes are, you'll see maybe the CEOs of companies, the sales leader is making more money than the CEO. So there's a little bit of envy there, or they start looking at numbers and they're like, well, the sales guy's making too much money. We need to put him on a salary and have him teach everyone else how to do his job. Well, you know what? He's really, really good at his job, and maybe he has a gift that you just can't teach. So maybe ask him if he wants to be a leader first. Then promote him, but don't bite the hand that feeds you.
You make a comment here that is really controversial, and it's in the book, and it says, here's what you said. You said, contrary to what many think, employees are not your greatest asset. They need to be well trained, and without training, they are a liability. And this concept is often lost in the corporate world.
Yeah, most people will they'll cut funding, and they'll cut training is the first funding they cut.
Yeah.
Then they'll start cutting commissions, and then they'll start cutting salaries. And they'll start cutting. How about run your business a little bit better?
Yeah. Right, when you come out and you say, something like, contrary to what you think, employees are not your greatest asset, you realize, right, that you're taking on everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right. You're right.
Your customers are your greatest asset.
Right, because here's the thing. You're absolutely right, because if they're not trained, how good of an asset can they be? I mean, it makes sense. The reason why you guys go through what you go through, and the reason why your training is so intense, and the reason why when you prepare for a mission, you train so hard not to get it right. You do it till you don't get it wrong.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that's what you guys do. And so the training, it's not the people, it's the quality of training you're doing.
Right. We train to failure in almost everything that we do. We go all the way to failure so we can see where the end is, and then we'll push it a little bit more.
Right. Right.
There have been very few scenarios that I've ever been in that were harder. There have been some, but there are very, very few that have been harder than what took place in training.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. His name's William Branum. The book is entitled Mission Ready, Building High-Performing Teams from the Battlefield to the Boardroom. I mean, outstanding. I mean, folks, if you are not like just jumping out of your skin, just ready to go work with your teams after you just listen to the first 2 segments, you have no soul. That's what I'm just saying to you right now. You're listening to me here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Linda Craft Team Realtors, one of our first ever sponsor. Been around for 40 years. I want you to check out lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com. Most comprehensive, in my opinion, most comprehensive real estate website you'll ever see. Not only do you get listings and information and, how-tos and what you need to do and frequently asked questions, but you have things like, moving with kids written by a child psychologist, or how to move with pets written by a veterinarian, right? They have so many things, vendors that they've worked with for decades that they recommend. Just a number of things. The website is so complete, so amazing. Check it out. It's lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com. And also, I'm going to have you check out Zoundy, ZOUNDY.com, Zoundy. Listen, if you're an author and you have an audio format book, I'm just telling you, no other audio service will provide you with what Zoundy can provide you, where you can actually get in contact with those people who are listening to your book. Or how about if you're going to speak at a conference and you want to get people kind of prepared, so you want to give away 500 books at that conference. How do you do that? Well, through Zoundy, you can do that without it costing you, per book. You can do that. And then what you can do is, because they download the book, you now have everybody's email address, right? That you can reach out to them individually and follow up with them. How cool is that? So listen, do yourself a favor. I love it. I think you will too. Just go to Zoundy.com, but not just Zoundy.com. If you want to be part of it, go to Zoundy.com/J, J-A-Y. And then when you get there, enter the code JAY25 and you'll get discounts off of signing up with Zoundy. It's absolutely fantastic. If you're an author, if you're a publisher, you're going to love it. ZOUNDY/JAY. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend William Branum and the book, Mission Ready. Fantastic book, building high-performing teams from the battlefield to the boardroom. We're talking about leaders don't get bullets. I want to, we got this is a pretty short segment here. I want to, though, I don't want to miss some of this because you have so many great things here in this particular chapter. You say in this chapter, you should be setting the vision, motivating the team, and ensuring they have everything they need. Remember, leadership is serving a great cause. The vision might be fighting to keep your company alive. Keeping you and your team out of unemployment is a great cause. Be focused on the big picture. You'll improve at observing the enemy and terrain. That is, changes in the market. Talk through us with that a little bit. Vision.
No, I was trying to think where to begin, or kind of where to start this. Going back to that, scenario where if you're looking down the sights of your weapon, you're not looking, and you're looking at the enemy. You're not looking at the terrain. You're not looking around. You're not looking at anything else. You're only looking at one thing. As a leader, you need to be visionary. You need to have your sights on the competition. You need to have the sights on what's the next product or next thing you're gonna push out. You need to have your sights on what are the sales numbers, what are the deficiencies, what are all the things that are going on, what is the enemy situation. What's the terrain that's going on that you're competing in or you're battling in? Because no matter what you think, every business is at war. You go to combat every single day when you go to work. And as a leader, your job is to lead your team in combat. Your job is to lead your team to be in that gunfight is leadership. Your job is leadership. Your job is to lead. And if you're busy like doing things like maybe you're out there, you're a senior leader and you're like, oh, I'm really good at doing sales, or I'm really good at like Excel spreadsheets, or I'm really good at PowerPoint presentations. And you're like taking all your time and focusing on PowerPoint presentations and Excel spreadsheets when you should have someone that is doing that for you so that you can see the bigger picture and you can be more visionary. Then you're in the wrong job, or you're doing the wrong thing, or you're focusing on the wrong thing. So it's important to know what your skill set is. What are you really good at? And those are the things that you focus on. A lot of leaders, when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, they're really good at like taking their company from 0 to multiple 7 figures. And then they get stuck because they know how to go from 0 to $1 million or 0 to 2 million, but they don't know how to go beyond that because they only know how to do this one skill set, the thing that got them from here to here. They don't know, maybe they're not a good leader. Maybe they're the greatest salesperson on the planet, but their ego gets in the way and they want to be the CEO and the COO and the sales guy and the whatever the thing is that they're really great at that help them get to this $1, $2, $3 million point, but they're not good at the other things. So what they need to do is they need to find someone, either fire themselves from that role and then so that they can be more visionary, or fire themselves as the CEO, hire the person that's going to take the company to the next level so that they can go to that multi 7, 8, 9 figure company. But there's a lot of ego that gets in there, and most of those leaders, they don't want to give up control because they feel like they're losing. They feel like they're the best marksmen on the battlefield and they're the only ones that can shoot and they're the only ones so that's why I take their bullets away.
Mm. You make a statement here, and we've heard this over and over again, but I want to get your perspective on it. You say you have to inspect what you expect. It's perfectly acceptable to expect performance from your team. We've heard this phrase, you have to inspect what you expect. What do you mean by that?
When we hire people, it doesn't matter if they're in the SEAL teams or in the corporate world, we expect them to do their job. We expect them to perform at a very high standard, whatever standard that we put in place. And oftentimes the minimum standard is the minimum standard for a reason. That's the minimum that we will accept as okay. We expect people to perform at a higher level than the minimum standard. But most people come in and they see the minimum standard and then they still don't hit it. But we expect them to, because that's why we hired them, because of their qualifications, because of their skill sets, because of whatever the thing is. How do we know that work is getting done if we don't go and actually check it out to make sure it got done? It's not a I don't trust you. I trust you. I just want to see that it's done. Mm. And the more that I see that it's done, the less that I have to come and inspect. It's just building trust. It doesn't matter if it's at a job or in a relationship. Are you showing up and are you doing the things that you say that you're going to do? Are you doing the work on us, on whatever? All leadership is about relationships. Yeah. It's a people problem. Yeah. Leadership is a people problem. It's a relationship problem. It doesn't matter if it's you and one other person or you and 500,000 people. It's a people problem. It's a relationship problem. Yeah. So trust is important in relationships. So I used to be a little bit sort of, I almost said a bad word. I almost got my feelings hurt when people wanted to inspect my work to make sure that I did it right. Until I went into that leadership position and I was like, I don't need to check what I trust them. They'll do a great job. They're great. And then they didn't. And I got burned. And I was like, oh, that just is never going to happen again. Because that affected me. I trusted. I didn't verify. And therefore I lost. So it was a valuable lesson that I learned. I just assumed that everyone would do it at the same level that I would or better. And I was wrong. So you inspect what you expect. Yeah. You trust, but you verify.
Yeah. Right. And you do it right. And your people have to be strong enough to recognize that you're not micromanaging them. It's
Correct.
just that you're training them to be trustworthy or to have integrity.
And well, you can also create you can be strategic about it. You can make it a competition. Like, hey, every Friday we're going to do a spot check, and it's just going to be random. And I'll spec 2 or 3 or 4 people at random. It doesn't matter who it is, and it could be the same person over and over. We're just drawing names from a hat.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of like built-in accountability for that. So everyone is going to do their thing because they know that they may be inspected. And maybe you don't check anyone some weeks, and other weeks you check everyone.
Right.
Just check. It's like no one should get their feelings hurt. And you know what? If you come and you check and they crushed it, you give them amazing praise. And then people want to do a better job. Yeah. That's another super valuable thing about leadership. When you praise people, when you reward them for their work that they've done, their hard-earned work, awesome.
Yeah.
People will do more for praise than they will for money.
It's true.
There's a weird psychology there.
It is. It's really true. Words of affirmation are incredibly motivating. If you have a culture where you're affirming people for what they did and you praise them for what they did well, it's a powerful culture. Yeah, it's really powerful. People don't want to believe it, but it's really true because people want to be a part of a culture where they're going to be recognized for doing 100%. Well.
Always.
Right. We just do. It's part of our human nature. We've been doing it since we've been kids. Whenever we're little boys, you and I, and our moms or dads would say, "Oh, that was so great." What did we do? We did it again. Right. We do it again. We do it again, and we do it again. Right. I mean, that's just how we operate, and it doesn't change just because we get to become adults. It doesn't alter that at all. So you're absolutely right. I want to do OODA loop, but we're running out of time. So I'm going to jump to the AAR because you did bring it up a little bit because you talked about the 3 questions. But I think it's really important because this is something that, I've introduced into the business culture now for several years is the AAR. And I do it with my elite. I coach, I do mental mindset work with elite hockey players. And I introduced this to them whenever they finish a weekend playing away somewhere and we come back. Matter of fact, I'm doing it this evening where I'm going to be meeting with the team and we're going to talk about the AAR. And they already know what it is. As soon as I say AAR, all of the team knows exactly what's going to happen. And I start with everybody else before I go to the team captains. I let the team captains go last because I want them to hear what everybody else says. Let's talk about the AAR and the 3 questions real quick.
AAR, after action review. So what did you do right? What did you do wrong? And what can we do better? How can we make it better? That is so powerful. It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
I know. It is.
I can remember times where we, like I said, there were times where my platoon we performed the best of the other platoons at the team. It just happens. It's not, it's not cocky. It's not anything else. It just is what it is. But, then we got to, this was during like one block of training during like the unit level training. And then we get into like more situational training where we're doing more full mission profiles and like having these sort of planned mock missions handed to us, and we have to plan them and we have to go execute them. And oftentimes that first one, after we haven't really done it for a long time, we blow it up. Like we don't do a great job.
Right.
I've been on both the SEAL active assaulter side of that, and I've been on the cadre evaluator side of that. And it happens to everyone. The best of the best still mess it up. And so it's important to go out there and knock the rust off, but come back. What are the lessons that you learned? What went right? Okay, these things went right. What went wrong? Yeah, these things went wrong and we did not expect it. It's awesome that it went wrong because we know to look for those things later. How can we make it better? So we take all those things, we put them together, and the next 50, 100 runs that we do, we don't mess it up. Or we make different mistakes. And so the more mistakes that we make, we know what we did wrong. We always know how to make it better.
Yeah, the problem is in the corporate world, what we do is we start with the 3rd question. and we don't talk about the first two questions. So we go right to, well, what can we do better? And so we ignore what we did right. And I know that people will say, well, isn't when you say what we do better, doesn't it include what went wrong? Well, that's not necessarily true, because it may be just the nature of the project that this is going to go wrong on a regular basis. We just need to be aware of it, because we're not going to be able to probably stop that, but we can avoid it.
Or we can mitigate it. We can mitigate it as much as possible.
Right.
If we know the things that are going wrong, we can take action to mitigate it, even if we can't stop it from going wrong.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the thing that makes this so powerful. And I'm just thinking about a situation with a business that I co-own, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're starting with how do we make things better? We should be starting with what went right? Everybody tell us what went right. Everybody tell us what went wrong, and then let's get to what went better. Because man, that's a lot of pressure to come up with what to do better. But that flow of succession makes it easier to get to what can we do better.
Yeah, and when you're talking about what went right, you have an opportunity to praise people for what they did well.
Right.
So you tell them what they did really well, and you say, okay, well, this was wrong. This was terrible. We got to fix this. Okay, now how can we make all of this better?
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. We've done our time. Well, thanks so much for being.
The time goes so fast when we're on the show.
I know, it's so much fun. I really do appreciate you coming back. I know that we had to make some adjustments, but you were so flexible, and I just want to tell you how grateful I am personally for you to come back on the show and do this with me. And I'd love to bring you back at some time, just chatting about this stuff, because I could.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it anytime.
Tell people, because I know there's a couple other websites. I know I gave the one website, but I know that you have a couple other websites out there that you can that you're leading people to. Tell them how they can get a hold of you in case they want to ask questions. Maybe they want to hire you to speak or be in a corporation and do some training. I know you do all that stuff as well. So how can people get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm William Branum on LinkedIn. I don't exactly know. I don't think there's many of us. There could be more. Bald guy with a beard. Navy SEAL William Branum is probably a great way to find me. I'm on Instagram, william.r.branum. It's easy to Google me. I've done a few podcasts here and there. So if you Google William Branum, Navy SEAL, I'm going to pop up. I have a CBD company called Naked Warrior Recovery. So it's nw-recovery.com. I have an event called the SEAL Leadership Challenge. It takes place out in Temecula. And the URL for that is SEALLeadershipChallenge.com. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But if you have any problems, it's very easy to Google me. It's very easy to find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Just hit me up and I'll respond, and we'll go have a conversation on if I'm a good fit for you or you're a good fit for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Hold, stay with me. Hey, folks, it's a show. You know what I say to you? You're in control of three things, no matter the circumstances: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. The fact of the matter is, life is never fair, and we're not going to have circumstances that are always going to be in our favor. But you are absolutely in control of your attitude. Take control of it immediately, because the faster you do that and you have a positive attitude and you could see whatever you're going through as positive, it changes you immediately. Your effort is tied to your excellence. Not every day is the same. So giving your best effort is tied to how excellent you want to be today. You make that choice. No one else does. And then finally, your resilience. We all get punched in the mouth or punched in the gut and get knocked down. It's up to you and I to get back up. And I want to tell you something. You need to get back up. And you know why? Because you're worth it and we need you on the team. So get back up. I'll be back next week with another great guest, another great book. It's going to be another great show. As I say to you all over the world, you have a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube and a positive review wherever you're listening or watching the show. As I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao